One. Hey everyone, we're back with another AI conversation. Today I'm joined by Ace Canacan, tama ba? And he's a recently completed fellow at SQL Labs, which is one of the more popular data science, data analytics boot camps. Welcome, Ace, to the conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's an honor, Sir Doc Ligot. Hi everybody. I'm Ace. I'm currently I graduated in the fellowship in Escolabs and currently part of the mentor pool. I'm also a student studying in Ateneo de Davao University, and I'm just really interested in AI. I love AI so much, and it really changed my perspective when ChatGPT came out, and I've been applying it from the most basic of things down to the most specific, like example. You use ChatGPT for like developing code. Now I can even use it for like acting as a guidance counselor for me, and that opened the doors for me. I kept on thinking, what else can I do with ChatGPT? And there's an API from OpenAI, and I was like, this is a great thing. And I started developing these apps, and I'm so grateful for like there's opportunities that came from different organizations, and I'm looking forward to let more people know about developing apps based on LLMs. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
me.
So this is really exciting news, no? But to be clear, did you learn this in your boot camp, or is this something you just studied on your own, or how did
Oh
you come
yeah.
by this all this stuff?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like, actually, the entire fellowship, I've been using ChatGPT so much. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's even notebooks, like data science notebooks that I've made that was entirely written by ChatGPT, and I was like seeing so many profound ways that ChatGPT changed my life. And during the fellowship, I've seen like data science is extremely difficult, but even it so being difficult and technical, ChatGPT making it so simple for me, I was like it can do so many things. So yeah, it wasn't a thought in the actual fellowship, but it became like an opportunity for me to learn about how ChatGPT can be used for several things. But like in terms of teaching generative AI and LLMs, Escolabs just unveiled that they're taking a new step in their company, and they'll be teaching this kind of thing. So I'm also looking forward to that. I can't say too many things about what's gonna happen with me, but I'm very excited to take you along. Like, what'll be the next step of Escolabs, and also integrating generative AI to data science.
So wait, just to be very clear, no. So SQL Labs is going to incorporate generative AI in their boot
Yeah,
camp.
it was presented in the demo fest. It was just presented with the attendees, and now it was posted on YouTube, so it's now public. So what their goal is to streamline data science work using LLMs. Yeah, that's when I got to present my project Visviz, which was a auto visualization tool. You just upload the CSV file, and it creates the whole thing right up until the notebook, and that's like a glimpse of what'll be the future projects of the fellows. So yeah, that's exactly like what you said.
Okay, that's really cool, and I'm very happy to hear that generative AI is being embraced as a topic. Obviously, it's despite it being around for almost 9 months now. No, I mean, it's still early days. For example, schools aren't teaching it at all, I mean, with a few exceptions, and most boot camps are still kind of, I would, stuck is too strong a word, pero parang they're still in the kind of discriminative AI, the old school stuff, which is still pretty powerful, pretty good. But combining it with generative AI obviously has a lot of opportunities, no? So sige, let's get into it. So I don't know, is that something you want to show, or maybe you just want to talk through kind of the process or the projects? I'm all ears now. How do you want to
Yeah,
talk
sure.
about this?
Yeah, as much as I really want to show my projects to show it to you guys, but the problem there is I cannot pay for it. I cannot afford the expenses of the computational expenses with the API, but I can explain the three of them. Like three of them were the most popular ones. First one was Visviz. That's the one that I presented into to Escolabs. It's a data visualization tool, and the way that it works is that you just upload a CSV file, and it reads the head of the data frame, and it creates a series of quests. it understands every single variable, like every feature in the data set, and it creates a series of questions. For example, we have a data set about cars, like what's their speed, their specifications. The AI, the LLM, it uses GPT 3.5. It's going to understand every feature of the data set. And it's going to create questions like, what is the relationship between horsepower and weight? What is the distribution of weight amongst all cars? Well, which country produces the heaviest cars? It creates all of those questions instantly, and it's really cool. You can actually I've uploaded the demonstration in my LinkedIn. All of them are uploaded in my LinkedIn. And the thing that I've and actually, when I was doing that, it's not an idea that I came up with. It's actually based on my own experience during as the fellowship. I
Hmm.
was there, I was like, we're trying to create an analysis of a CSV file, and I was like, I can't think of anything. What am I supposed to do? And I came up with the idea. I printed the head of the data frame, pasted it on the Chat GPT, and asked, "Can you make questions out of this data set?" And then it was able to create those questions. I was like, "This is such a cool thing. This is so cool." And I translated it into an LLM app. So that's one app that I made. So
So wait,
do you
wait.
have
So,
you want to clarify
roll
anything
back the
more about?
clock. So for people who
Yeah,
aren't
sure, sure.
kind of aren't that familiar with how the API works, can you
Okay,
maybe
yeah.
talk through some of the first steps that you did? And I don't know if you want to, show some stuff like, I don't know, the Open AI dashboard or whatever. But so people can like, those who
Okay,
want to
sure.
get started, like the thought process, and then later let's get into
Okay,
some
okay.
details on your projects.
So, okay, okay, so di ba ma-edit man to siya? Ma-edit naman. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna, open AI. Oh, maybe, okay, I think my app is still working, so,
Sige, show as much as you can, no?
ayun, it's running. Okay. Settings. Okay, it's still running, so goods naman. I still have available space. Where's the data set? Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So, okay, before I go ahead I'm gonna talk about the app first before I dive into the API. So, this is Visviz. The first thing you're gonna do is upload a CSV file. Oh, sorry. This app. Wait. There's a message. Okay, I'm gonna try again. I think there's an error here.
Rate limit error.
Oh, okay.
Is that
Okay.
is that is that because you need to pay them, or is there really a limit to the usage?
I set the limit here, so I think I can change it naman.
Yeah.
Wait. I can edit it for today. You. Okay. Yan. Okay, so rewind. So I'm gonna show how Visviz works. This is the one that I presented in Escolabs during the demo fest. So I'm gonna upload a CSV file. It's still an error. Oh man, I'm sorry. Wait lang. Still an
Is
error.
is this the app you described on LinkedIn, which helps you, uh, process data using the large language model? I think I read somewhere where it's like a data cleansing app or something, or that's another app that you.
Oh, that's another app, but I'm also gonna try to share it later.
Sige.
There's a problem with the usage limit. Oh, it should have changed. Okay. Oh, I think I can. I'm gonna. I have a video demonstration of this. I think that's better na lang para I okay. Is it okay if I'll just share I recorded how I used it before.
Sure.
So
You have a
I'm just
video? You want to
yeah, I
share?
have
You
a
can.
video.
I
Okay.
think you can share a video directly, or if you want, you can play it and then share that window.
Yeah, I can share this I can share the window over here.
Sige.
Ayan. Yun, this is so much better. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is a video demonstration of Visviz. This is the one that I presented in Escolabs. So what happens here, you're gonna upload a CSV file, and once you upload the CSV file, it'll be analyzing every single variable, every single feature of the dataset, and they're gonna be stored in individual text boxes, and we're gonna see why they're stored in text boxes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's still running. So this one actually uses the 3.5 model, which is like the most efficient one. So they're here in individual text boxes. The reason is that you can verify and even edit them when needed. So in the acceleration column over here, it's not the right meaning. It's not the change of velocity. It refers to the acceleration rate of the car. So you can change that one, and once you've checked every single one of them, you're gonna press submit. So it's gonna copy paste all of those into the prompt, and it will be telling the prompt to create a set of questions. So now we got the questions. So we uploaded the definitions for the variables, right? And it now created the different types of questions. Like here, we have the distribution of the miles per gallon variable in dataset. So it was able to know that like MPG can be a important variable. So it created a histogram. These are all the types of questions, and I've even added a feature here that you can download it directly into a Jupyter notebook to
Mm-hmm.
really see all of the glory. So once you run the file, you can see all of the different all of the code together with the plots. So I also want to show, like, not only it generated the code for the plots, but it also generated the block of code for the prerequisites. So that's like a glimpse of how it works. And so yeah, and in terms of the API, so the most important part here is really in providing prompts to the API. So example here, I upload a CSV file, and I basically tell the GPT model to literally I will be telling it in the prompt saying that, hey, can you read this data set and can you make questions for me? That's basically how the API works. It's like you can take in the engine of ChatGPT and do whatever you want with it. And since it's an LLM, you can still use prompts. So yeah, that's how it works. Like example in this part, in creating the blocks and in creating the blocks of code, I just have to put in a prompt into the API telling it to, can you make a block of code that will generate the distribution of the MPG column? So yeah, that's how it works. It's so easy. It's so the effects are very very profound. And yeah, you got any? Is there anything that I need to clarify? I
No,
want
no.
to explain
Maybe
it better.
maybe the first thing I would ask, because I've actually done a variation of this. So I'm definitely a believer. But maybe for the rest of the people watching, did the code it generated work completely out of the box, or did you also encounter cases when there were some errors or you had to edit something? I mean, from the get-go, was it completely flawless? I mean, how was it? How was the experience?
Oh yeah, in terms of the code, is it in terms of the code, like, it's a really great question because it uses the 3.5 model and it's not the best one compared to GPT-4,
Mm-hmm.
but I've encountered so many times that it produced very very weird outputs, and
Oh.
that's where the your skill in prompt engineering comes into place. You have to be very sure you have to be very specific with the instructions that you put in. And
Mm-hmm.
in terms of developing the before I got to this point, I've spent so much money because I keep on using the API, and what I did here was there's actually a parameter called the temperature one, which determines the variation of the output. So I set it to 0.1 to make it as specific as possible that it won't be changing all the time. And I
Hmm.
even put there in the prompt like an example on what it should output.
So
So I
this
would
the temperature setting, it's only doable with the API, right? Or can it also be triggered on kind of like the usual chat GPT interface?
Yeah, the temperature can only be changed. It cannot be changed in the ChatGPT app, but it can be changed in the playground. So
Right.
in the playground, dun lang siya pwede. So it's not accessible to the users.
And the difference
Yeah.
between the two, because if I've seen the playground, it's also like kind of a chat interface, although it's a little bit more, it's got a little bit more, knobs and whistles, um, bells and whistles rather. Is Does it cost money to actually use the playground, or only if you're using GPT-4?
Yeah, in terms of using the playground, in my experience, just saying maybe I've missed something, but it didn't really cost anything. The playground is completely free, and then that I think I really suggest you guys. That's one of the big mistakes that I've made when I was testing the app. I went directly into using the API. That's why it
That's why
costed
there's a
me
cost,
thousands.
right?
It costed me thousands just to develop the app. So I really suggest going to the playground. There's so many things that you can do with it. There's a user assistant, like you can tell what the user will say. You can even tell what the user will say. So you can be very specific. And the cool thing there is once you're done with modifying the model, you can export the settings. So example, you set the temperature to zero point 0.1, you set the other parameters into specific values. You can copy paste the code and put it into your file, into your actual project, and then you're gonna expect it to behave the same exact way on the app, same with the playground. So I suggest going with the playground first. Don't do what I did.
So the playground, no. Okay. Apart from that, how did you come up with the ideas? Let's say for the apps. No, you said you've made at least three. Can you briefly talk through the concepts, and then let's talk about how you got into it.
Oh, for the concepts, it's like the concepts behind the app.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna show another video that I can
Sige.
that the auto
Yeah, because I think what you're doing here is you've done product development basically and prototyping, no? And I'm definitely a big believer in design thinking. So you've done step 3 and 4 and 5, no? Ideation, prototyping, and testing.
yeah,
I just wanted to understand how you came to the ideas. Was it because these are things that you kind of want to do for yourself, and you
yeah,
thought if you can come up with a tool, then others might be able to use it also?
yeah. Okay. Can I answer that first before I'll show the
Yeah, yeah,
or
go
show?
ahead. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think I really like that question. The most important element of designing these apps is in the empathy towards the users. I always kept telling myself like, what is it that I go through? Also, what is it that I go through, and then also what people go through that who works with data. What are their big problems, and what are their specific problems? What is it really that's causing the friction? For example, like in data cleaning, like it's such a hard, process. But then, when I was cleaning data in our final capstone in Esquilabs, the data was so dirty. But what really helped me was ChatGPT. I always put in the sample variables and tell ChatGPT, I want it to be clean. I want it to change it into this. So it will create the block of code to clean it. So I just have to copy paste the code, put it on the notebook, and then I was able to clean my data set much faster and much more effective. And that leads us to another project that I made called AutoClean. So this is a demonstration video that I posted in LinkedIn, but I'm just gonna pause in certain parts. So you first gotta upload your API key because I cannot sponsor them anymore. So you
For
have to
sure.
make your own API key, and here we have a data set. It's not that clean, and to make it not too much computationally expensive, you'll be cleaning per column. So example, I want to clean, so here we'll be cleaning the date column. And once you press the analyze column button over here, it will be generating the following. It will be generating an issue that it found in the column, and it will also be creating a suggestion for how to clean it. So example here in the first one, it said the value 2020 32-12 is not a valid date because
Yeah.
there's no December 32.
Hmm.
And it created a suggested cleaning method. So it's to correct the date into the valid format. And that's kind of hard to code, you know, that's really hard to code. Like you'd have to make an entire function to do that. But you know, once you so this the text here, it will be uploaded into the API, into the prompt, telling it that hey, this is the issue, this is the cleaning method. Can you make a code for it?
Hmm.
So once you generate that one, there we have the code. It says there like it's gonna split the date into different components. So it creates a very comprehensive block of code to clean that specific data point. So this is another problem.
So in this
February,
case, if I may ask, no,
yeah,
did it know enough to understand the date format? Because I noticed you have here year, month, and day, and then the previous example was year, day, and month, no. So alam mo naman yung mga tao with dates, no.
yeah.
So did it know enough to understand that, or did you have to input that into kind of some prompt engineering at the back?
In terms of the prompt engineering, the only thing that I did was, can you create it? I just told it to create suggestions how to clean it, but anything else,
It
there
figured
was no
out on its
fine
own.
tuning. Yeah, it did everything on its own. But this one was working on. So I tested it on GPT 3.5 and it wasn't that good. It
Yeah.
would example there are outliers like a number like there was a column for numbers like 50, 20, and there's a number there 1 million. It wouldn't detect it as an outlier, as a wrong input. That's with the 3.5. But using GPT-4, it was a lot more accurate. And I didn't do any fine tuning in terms of the prompt. I just told it to create suggestions on how to clean it. But you know, with the capabilities of GPT-4, it was able to properly detect different issues. So that was really cool. I think GPT-4, like it's still very fresh, but its capabilities, it's really endless, and then we're so excited to see so much more of it.
So
So yeah.
the API you were doing was already using GPT-4, tama, or also just using GPT-3?
Okay, for the API, you get to have the freedom to choose whatever model that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So there's 3.5, there's 4, there's other like text to Vinci. But in my experience, 3.5 is the best one because it's the cheapest and fastest. GPT-4, it's overpriced. It's significantly more accurate, but it's a lot more expensive than 3.5. I think like 30 times more expensive. So it's not the best option to go with.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing here is that a very good news came out. Like a few hours ago, as of the time of recording, OpenAI released the news that 3.5 can finally be fine-tuned. So in that case, you can program it to have a very specific output, and it was it the results according to OpenAI. There are times if you know how to fine-tune 3.5, it can function way better than GPT-4. So yeah, it's way cheaper, but also faster and you know much more efficient. But yeah, that's with the models.
But when you say 20 times more expensive, like how much did it cost you? Like $1,000 or hindi naman?
Oh no, not really, not that much. Only
Mga
the
$500, $100 end
it
to end.
only costs not that much, but only up to like I spent like up to 3,000 pesos. So
Okay, okay. It's not
it's
really
not that
damaging.
yeah, it's not that expensive, but it was just on the testing phase. Imagine like having to deploy this on a massive scale. It's very important that you make it as cheap as possible. But yeah, I think it's not that expensive. But if I'm not mistaken, GPT 3.5, the price is actually per 1,000 tokens. So in GPT 3.5, I think it's like 0.002, but for GPT 4, it's $0.06. So that's 30 times more expensive if I remember it correctly. And yeah, I think that's with the expenses of the API.
So if you spend 3K, that's on GPT-3, no? And you're saying it's like 20, 3 times 20. That's still expensive, no? That's mga 60K then, assuming.
Yeah.
What was the I mean, obviously this is qualitative, but what was the difference in the performance? Like if you is it perfectly acceptable to just use GPT-3 muna, just considering the cost difference?
Yeah, I think the difference between GPT-4, uh, I'm gonna speak in the chat GPT perspective first. GPT 3.5 and GPT 4, they're very different. I think night and day, especially when I code. And oh, the funny thing there is in GPT 3.5, when you tell it that, oh, this code is wrong, even if the code is right, GPT 3.5 is gonna think that they're wrong. But for GPT 4, when it writes a block of code and you tell it that it's wrong, it confidently says that no, this is correct. Maybe there's something wrong with your IDE. It says something along those lines. So that's the big difference between 3.5 and 4. Same thing goes with working with the API. I've really seen a big difference that like the way that I can say it, like GPT-4 is a lot more confident per se if it were an actual developer. It can really put out the right output. And the cool thing there is like prompt engineering is so important here. You have to specify the instructions. And GPT-4 can very much remember and contextualize the instructions that you put into it. Like I want you to generate this block of code and it has to look like this. 3.5 can sometimes forget it, but GPT-4 it really remembers what type of code the
So
the right
it's
output.
like light years talaga, no? Light years
Yeah.
more advanced. Okay, sige. Can I dive into kind of the product development side a bit, no? So here you are, you're a student trying to figure things out, and then you suddenly got an inspiration. How did that happen? Is that something that triggered you, or what not? Because I'm really interested to see how we can basically mass produce that experience, because I think you've actually stumbled upon something that I've suspected for a long time, which is if you give people democratic access to tools, they will naturally come up with these innovations. It's not something you just engineer or force, no. It's just by giving access, talagang lumilipad, no. But I don't know, does that work for you?
Yeah, so is it in terms of like the process that I went through before I reached this point, it really started with my I'm very invested with ChatGPT. I don't know if it's a cool thing to say, but I cannot live with ChatGPT anymore. Sir Doc Legal, I just want to say like when I replied to your emails, I even used ChatGPT. Like, how can I sound very respectful? I use it for
I
so
didn't notice, and I didn't, of course.
okay.
I actually feel more. Ironically, siguro, I actually am more impressed that you use ChatGPT to reply to me. you know,
Even I use ChatGPT for almost everything. How about for you, sir? Like, how do you use ChatGPT? Like, maybe we're on the same page if we're both that invested in the app.
yeah. So for me, it kind of came together. So I was one of the first people to sign up. I think I was probably within the first 10 people in the Philippines, no, as early as November. So when I saw it, automatically signed up. So I probably one of the oldest accounts. Um, and then when GPT-4 came available, also one of the first to sign up. Uh, I I actually was impressed because I'm a big fan of natural language processing. We used to do it the hard way. And then it sort of coincided also with my kind of this recent thing I've been doing, which is to be more kind of how do you say it, more noticed about AI. Because truth be told, I'd been waiting for other people to step up and start talking about it. Because once upon a time, when data science was the big thing and big data, you had these parang I would call them avatars, no? Academics, IT people, and they kind of be they'll position themselves as the poster boy or poster girl for this. So I was waiting, no, November, December, January, February, and then March. March is incidentally also my birth month. Sabi ko, parang no one wants to talk about AI, and this is massive, no? Why is no one talking about it? At the same time, the escalation in the I would say disinformation about AI was at a fever pitch. Like the worst example, ako na yung in-interview mo, no? The worst example is when I read this article, won't mention who, by a journalist, really respected journalist, really old journalist. um, what this person did is prompt ChatGPT the wrong way. Just ask zero shot, who is whoever X, no? And obviously, ChatGPT, whenever you ask it that way, will probably come up occasionally with errors, no? Hallucinations. So that's never a good way of prompting, no? Ask, especially about names. And then this person starts writing, look at all the lies coming out of this chatbot, ChatGPT and lying, blah, blah, blah. I might have narrowed down the person, by the way, by saying that. But all I was saying was, this is so disingenuous, no? You know how not to prompt, or maybe back then, person was ignorant. Pero how do you write an article out of ignorance? Now, I'm getting a
Yeah.
little, emotional about it. So I said, nah, I'm not gonna let this pass. Someone has to come in, break the ice, and that's what I did. So April, I did my first podcast on Zoom, called AI for Lunch, and now I'm already on my 10th episode. I actually 11th actually. I had my 11th episode yesterday. Over 3 months. As a way of parang level setting. Let's talk about AI in a very friendly way. No nosebleed, no techie stuff. I mean, a little bit. Talk about the implications, talk about the ethics, talk about the jobs. Because those are the big parang bugbears, no? Job displacement, cheating in school, and
Yeah,
all these
exactly.
other things, no? So sige, and then it's now diversified. So I'm now doing this format, the conversation format. I'm very happy with it because there's really just so much that hasn't been talked about, no? And I'd been working with AI maybe over, I mean, strictly speaking, over 11 years. And then in analytics, almost 2 decades, more than 2 decades. There's always a lot of this hype and disinformation. And even with that experience, I still learn a lot. I'm learning a lot from you, for example. I'm learning a lot from everyone I talk to. So sabi ko, we shouldn't deprive people of this. People should be making it friendlier. Ngayon, especially with your demonstration, I'm thinking of a third or a fourth format. I actually did a reaction video yesterday of si Congressman, what's his name, Mark Go, who did a privileged speech in Congress, and we're actually working with him to put out an education program, parang Project Sparta, but for AI, no? Kasi we need that. And I'm happy to hear Escuelabs is going to take up AI. So reaction videos, we're going to do more of those, and then the show and tell type of videos. I honestly, I've been really avoiding it because I said there's more than enough of those coding camps everywhere. So I'm probably not going to do a coding camp, but there are a few things that is worth demonstrating though, and I'll probably keep that as a suspense muna. I have a growing list. Like, did people understand that this is how neural networks pala actually work? Because people love teaching the math and the TensorFlow stuff and the Keras stuff, and I'm saying, yeah, that's how you execute it. But how does it actually work? And without the nosebleed math, just show how it actually works. Things like that. So I think there's not enough content around that. I'll probably make that
Yeah.
content. And then eventually, where it's probably gonna go to is I want to really make the Philippines. This is my ambition. Make the Philippines a contender in AI, not just from a academic standpoint. Probably not academic because honestly, we're way behind in terms of the academic position. Like, we're not producing as much PhDs or papers. I mean,
Yeah.
hopefully our
We don't even
schools.
have a BS degree for data science. Like, I
Meron
think
na,
there are
meron na.
schools,
There are a couple. There are a couple.
very, very few schools, but I think AIM is the ones like
So AIM
the
was one. They're actually not the first, contrary to what they may say. Sorry to break the ice. UST was first. and UANP were the first. But anyway, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter who's first, who's last. The point is there's not enough, no? So
Yeah.
I'll leave that problem to our academic friends. I mean, it's their turf, figure it out. Where I'm probably gonna make more waves is broader public adoption. That's why it's really great that you're showing your stuff, and also startups. I don't think we have enough AI startups. If you
Yeah.
ask me,
I can't even mention a single one
well, you
for
should
me.
mention me because I have an
Oh,
AI
okay. I'm
startup.
so sorry.
But
I
see,
thought it was a research consultancy one.
it's not, yeah, it's not commonly known, but we've been, I mean,
Okay.
if you go to Crunchbase and search for artificial intelligence, probably one of the few that
Oh,
pop
okay.
up. I'm actually not proud of it because it just means there's none. So if you end up being the top contender in a category because of by default, that's really nothing to be too proud about. But I wanna instead usher in a new kind of a new renaissance, no, in AI startups. These are big words, by the way. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but little by little, like of course, there's the work I do with AAP. Angela is part of that, of SQL Labs, and then of course the congressman. Maybe I will maybe do a like a quick rundown. This is what I've been doing. See what happens. Of course, my companies are all pivoting completely into AI, but more into training and prototyping, design thinking, because I think that's what's missing. That's why I'm very curious about your, uh, you know, your experience, no? Parang, because I feel that that's what's lacking. I mean, if you want to get tools, if you want to get help, there's more than enough IT consultants and service providers. They're more than ready to execute. But the question is, how do you get the ideas? That's
Yeah.
missing now. Anyway, I'm talking too much. I want to bring it back
It's
to you.
okay.
So how did you get your ideas? No? And how do
Yeah.
you want to continue promoting your ideas? Maybe that's a good place to continue.
Yeah, I really like what you said about, AI looking so scary for so many people. But in my experience, AI, especially ChatGPT, it changed my life in a very, very good way. One of the apps that I've developed, it wasn't as popular as like Visviz and AutoClean. Oh wait, sir, I just want to say I learned a lot. Don't have to say sorry for speaking too much. I'm very grateful for that. But anyways, uh, when I developed like this mental health chatbot, and what it does, it actually helps. It mimics the way that you have a conversation with a mental health professional, and when I went through cognitive behavioral therapy to understand anxiety and stress, I was asking myself, like, how can we integrate this kind of services into a democratized online way? And I thought like maybe LLMs can do it. And I kind of like programmed Chat GPT to function as a mental health chatbot by telling it that, hey Chat GPT, you're a guidance counselor, and what you're supposed to do here is to provide me questions that I can better that I can do introspection on myself. And it doesn't function the same way as a mental health professional. It's very, very far from a professional. It shouldn't be a replacement for actual professionals. But in my experience, it helped me so, so much. I go through a lot of anxiety and so many things. But when I modified ChatGPT to function in a certain way, it 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 helped me in a very very in an unexpected level. Like I was able to go through life much better. I was able to understand my thoughts, and like and it really destroys the notion that AI is there to destroy the world, to take away our jobs. It can replace some tasks, but it cannot replace the work of a human being. I would still very much prefer to be with a an actual mental health professional, but there are certain tasks, certain activities that we can replicate using AI and make it more democratized. And I've done it with Juris AI and MedGPT that provides you free consultations in health and in the legal field. And I got to test it with my I got it. It just so happens that my sister is a doctor and my dad's a lawyer for like almost 3 decades now, and I'm showing like, pa, tingnan mo to, like it's so cool. It was able, and I let him review the conversation, the output, and he was like, yeah, this one is correct. So it cannot replace the work of my family. It cannot replace their work, but
So
like,
so wait, can I zoom in on that because I keep hearing that,
okay,
no? AI will never replace blank. And well, firstly, and let me know what you think. Was it ever a case of replacement anyway? Like for example, when um the internet came about, no? And I remember there was a Letterman interview of Bill Gates. And Bill Gates was describing what internet was all about. Oh, it's a place where you can get the latest scores of your sporting events or the latest news. And Letterman was saying, "Oh, you mean like the radio?" And people were laughing, or you mean like the nightly news? So the people were skeptical of the internet. Can you believe? And then I believe this, no, when Wikipedia first came out, we never believed it because we're used to an era where we pay thousands of pesos, you know, kahit minsan nga thousands of dollars for a brand new Encyclopedia Britannica. It's like a status symbol. I grew up in a household where we had secondhand Britannicas, no, like 1960s or 1970s Britannicas. I didn't obviously live back then, no, and because that was the more affordable set, no. If you wanted the brand new one, you pay $1,000 for it, or sometimes pa nga, less than $2,000, and you pay that over 24 months. Can you imagine paying for
Yeah,
encyclopedias
just for
over 20,
information.
for over 24 months? It's ridiculous. So do that, and then uh so ngayon everyone gets everything online. You'd be stupid to be getting it off a 1960s
Yeah,
Britannica. That's really, So there's that. And then a couple of hundred years ago, photography wasn't considered art. Believe it. And then when Photoshop came out, that wasn't considered legitimate photography. Parang if you don't know how to do your own legit photographs, Photoshop doesn't count. And then digital cameras came in. They say, oh, digital cameras will never replace SLRs. Sabi mo, mga ganun. So you've just seen this pattern again and again and again. And then now people are saying, oh, AI will never replace lawyers or med or doctors or artists or copywriters or anything or journalists. It makes me wonder if this isn't just a natural parang reflex na, oh, I'm a human, I'm important. So what eventually happens is people hardly remember the manual work gets replaced by a machine and people move on to other work. Like for example, switchboard operators. No, we were both too young. I don't even know if you were born then. Where it was actually humans that were connecting people across like telephone lines, no, manually. Can you believe it? You can even talk to them sometimes. Guy, please connect me to I don't know Pampanga, and then back they'll connect you. Ngayon, that's a modem, or that's a router. A machine takes over that. What happened? People moved on to other things. So instead of switchboard operating, they became network engineers or internet content developers, whatever it is. That's what they did. So I feel na lawyers won't be replaced by AI, but lawyers will certainly be replaced by lawyers using AI. That's what I
yeah,
think.
exactly.
No. Anyways, I'm talking a lot. So back to you. So you showed your parents, your dad. What was the reaction to your stuff or what you were talking about?
Yeah, so his reaction was like he was very, very impressed, which is very rare for my dad. He rarely gets impressed by anything. When I showed him, I was like, "Oh, you can do this." He immediately went up to me and like, "Oh, how can I download this app?" So okay, it's something really cool, but like I don't think it can replace the work of doctors and lawyers and mental health professionals, but it doesn't mean that like it's not gonna have a very big effect. I think you've posted, sir, regarding call center agents. That's like
Mm-hmm.
something that's been causing a lot of anxiety within me. I've searched on the internet. I think it's not exactly the accurate number, but there's more than 1.3 million call center agents in the Philippines, and we've seen like AI and LLMs, GPT-4 can function even somehow the same level of a doctor and a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
What more for like customer? What more for a customer service agent? And we not only that we have LLMs, but we also have AI that can mimic the sound of a voice, that sound of a human voice, and this AI LLMs can be integrated with the system of a company. Like example, they process refunds, like reviews and stuff. for sure, LLMs can be directly integrated with those things, and all of the technologies are available, like LLMs, text to voice, like integrate APIs connecting to existing systems. Like, looking at, I think the biggest issue here is with the call center agents, and it's something that we just can't shrug it off. And we've seen multiple companies replace their call center agents with AI. That's gonna be catastrophic for the Philippines when they're such an important part of the economy and how the country works.
Yeah, certainly it's something that we need to be watching closely, and not even just watching, we should be doing something about it. It's catastrophic if we in fact don't do anything about it. And well, for example, not all BPOs are contact centers. There are many BPOs that do, let's say, IT work or medical transcription work, and all of that could certainly benefit from automation using large language models. That's actually a use case that I'm looking very deeply into. If you're interested to explore that, let's talk some more, no, about how we can automate contact center and BPO work. But even on the contact center front, I learned a very interesting piece of trivia recently, is that even at their level, they actually reject more applicants than they approve. Like, I think the ratio I heard was about 15%, no, or 15 out of every 100. Uh, yung tinatanggap, 85% are knocked out, and usually the reasons for knockout are communication skills, written English, spoken English. And the idea would be, for me at least, yes, they get knocked out on their own. But what if they had AI? You think they'd be writing better English? Probably. Or even with voice AI, you think they'd be speaking better English? Probably. So this is a way to actually expand that window, no? So maybe you're hiring 15% of the top 15%, but maybe the next 15% with AI could be hireable. And that would have a dramatic impact. You said 1.3 million, no? That could be easily a doubling of the workforce, no, from 1.3 to 2.6 to 3 million. It's not impossible. I'm sure you're already thinking about how that could work now, but obviously we need call centers to actually adopt it, and it takes a bit of technology also to implement it. And second, obviously the demand depends on outside the Philippines. If will they continue to send work here, and how do we market the Philippines, no? So it won't be an overnight change. Pero yun na nga, it's a change you gotta meet head on. Or yeah, as you say, it could be catastrophic if nothing happens, no?
Yeah, and like, coming to think of it, based on what I read, I think the only politician in the national stage was Senator Amy Marcos, who just had a probe. It was just a probe. It wasn't even like an actual discussion yet. We're still yet to see very monumental, like, actual, steps towards being proactive in terms of AI, the impact of AI in the BPO industry. But, in my opinion, I think it's really scary to think of them being replaced in a short amount of time, and we shouldn't. Well, how about you, sir? Do you think, like, between adding workforce or removing the workforce, what do you think is, like, more plausible here?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's something I think about a lot. Like I did a webinar on jobs. I think if we look at the past parang technological upheavals or industrial revolutions, no, we're supposedly in the fourth industrial revolution already. It was far easier all the time to predict which jobs will be lost, and almost impossible to predict which jobs would be created. Like before Wikipedia or before the internet, would you imagine web developers, digital marketers, content creators? These were all like imaginary jobs, and people would say, "Oh, come on." It's like wishing on parang ngayon you have these weird sci-fi stuff like quantum computing and ano pa ba, blockchain, although blockchain it's sort of kind of getting real already. Even the idea of artificial intelligence back then was so imaginary, other than chess tournaments and Go. the only references we had in AI were sci-fi, like Star Trek, talk to the computer. That's exactly what's happening now with
Yeah,
ChatGPT, di ba? Now you can
exactly.
talk to the computer in English. Dati, it's unheard of. You have to write code. You have to write computer program. So puro ganun, parang it's impossible for me to say with certainty what jobs will be created. However, if you look at the ratio, there's usually I don't think there's ever been an era where there were less jobs created than destroyed. Usually there for every one job, I don't know the actual ratio now, but it seems like for every one job lost, there's easily 100 or 1,000 new jobs. And some of these jobs that are lost, frankly, they deserve to be lost. Like for example, have you heard? This is my favorite example. Have you heard of an ice cutter?
Not
So that's a job. Their
yeah.
job was to cut ice, no? And this was in an era when ice was being mined. So wala pang mga refrigerators or ice plants, no? They mined ice. It's a mining industry. They would cut ice from a lake, frozen lake, di ba? Pag back in the day, the earth was much colder than today. So they'll cut it out, they'll ship it, and lakes were still very clean. Unlike today, they're all toxic, but most lakes were very clean.
Yeah.
That you can actually use the ice. So this was the ice back in the era of Jose Rizal, 19th century. They'll have mais con hielo. Yeah, mais con hielo without a refrigerator. Obviously, the ice came from somewhere, and most of that ice didn't come from the Philippines. It was shipped from Mexico via the galleons, no? The Acapulco line, no? And by the time they arrived in Intramuros, easily more than 50% of it would have melted, but there's enough of it to be
Yeah.
profitable. And that was the way it was for 100 plus years. And then suddenly the ice plant appeared. Suddenly there's a machine that produces ice, no? Compressors were invented. Um, but the first ice plants were actually quite deadly kasi part of that chemical process involved dangerous stuff like ammonia and all that. And if you had ammonia that contaminated the ice, dead o yan, instant death, no? Or extremely painful death. But they perfected it. And then after World War One and Two, compressor technology got smaller. You had air conditioners and refrigerators. No? Parang do you still have relatives that call refrigerators Frigidaire, or
Oh,
never heard
I've
of
been
it?
yeah,
No.
no.
So you're that young. Kasi back in the
Yeah.
day, Frigidaire was the top brand of
Oh, okay.
refrigerator, along with Kelvinator and GE, no? And so my grandparents called it Frigidaire. Parang Colgate is the
Yeah.
common brand for toothpaste. So yan, Frigidaire. So imagine mo yung transition na yun. You had a mining industry that became a manufacturing industry with ice plants that became a device. So now it's user generated ice, parang user generated content ang ngayon labanan. So something as simple as ice changed, three times. So if you were an ice miner and someone told you, one day we would produce our own ice, they would probably burn you at the stake. Now, no, that's the work of the devil. No, you're not supposed to create ice. Ice is something that God creates. And you're not supposed to mess with ice. Parang stem cells, no? And ngayon, would you be mining ice from a lake?
Yeah.
Unheard of. Stupid. Why would you do that? You'd expose yourselves to
Dirty.
all sorts of
Yeah.
diseases, no? And you only need ice when, parang you want it on demand. You don't want it
Yeah.
all the time. So that's what I mean. It's so parang asymmetry. Eh. You don't know what jobs will be created, but basing on history, more jobs will be created than destroyed. I'd be curious what kind of jobs would be created by
Yeah.
AI. Parang itong even this prompt engineering thing, which I'm all over right now. I think that's just tip of the iceberg. Baka later we'll have mga AI whisperers. Alam mo yung mga ganun. So it's the same way you have dog whisperers and cat whisperers. So these professionals can tame your cats and dogs. Baka may AI whisperer then you can tame
Yeah.
AI. Right? You can get them to do stuff no one else can do. And of course, each and every profession that's doing something manual now will probably stay. It won't get erased. There are some professions though that will probably all die. But pero most professions will probably just get AI augmented. No, you just add parang pepper lang yan. You add pepper to your steak, tastes better. So parang ganun. Just like accountants were not replaced by Microsoft Excel. They were replaced by accountants who used Microsoft Excel. And you wouldn't dare do accounting without a spreadsheet these days, no? Back in the day, like I took accounting, we were using those columnar pads, no? It's messy, it's bad for the
Yeah.
environment.
Correction tape. That one touch and go, right? If you have
Oh yun, mga ganon, no? And I hated it, no? Kaya when I was already graduating, decades ago, by the way, but when Microsoft Excel became widely available, I think this was the pre-Windows 95 era, no? Parang Windows 3.11 yata. Ang dami ng mga Excel. It sped up a lot of work. And then my first job was in banking pa. And people were using these infernal adding machines, yung may roll of tape na, people were literally connected to those machines. No? They would be typing without looking at it. Ako naman, well, I'm not gonna learn that skill. I'm just gonna select cells and then get a sum. That's how I'm gonna do it. I even had an office mate. It na you had Excel on the screen, and this person would actually manually add up the totals using the adding machine just to validate. And I said, you don't need to validate that. That will always be automatically correct unless may mali dun sa ano mo. Maybe one of it is pasted as text as opposed to a number. It's the only reason why it would make a mistake. They wouldn't believe it. No, I have to, audit this and validate it. And yeah, as I said, every era has the same thing. Ngayon, people are validating it, because nga, they don't trust it. I think it's just temporary. Eventually, it'll get there. No.
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
we're at the almost at the hour. Imagine that. No. So I just want to ask you a few more questions, if you don't mind. So now that you've learned all this really cool stuff with GPTs and LLMs, what do you think your profession will be? What kind
Oh
of
yeah,
job would
that's
you want to do?
I have, to be honest, I'm not thinking of it too much, but like I really want to work probably one of the companies that really was uh there were companies that actually pivoted into LLMs, and I was like, oh man, that's really cool. And there's a company, am I allowed to mention a company here?
If it's publicly available, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. So Thinking Machines, they posted like one of the projects that the interns made. I think it was from the interns, but it was a zero shot analysis using GPT-4, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And for me, like the way I see it, I'm very interested in having a job that's related to that, specifically for LLMs, because of how amazing the things that it can do for us. So, but like as of now, I'm just focusing on the current opportunities that are provided to me. So I'll be mentoring in Escolabs. I'll be having a bridging session, and then it'll also be the initiative. It will also be an initiative for me to show the fellows prior to the fellowship on how you can use ChatGPT in data science. So I'm looking forward to that. But like in other, hopefully I can become an AI engineer that specializes in LLMs. But a very big problem there that I saw is like comparing the community for web developers, app developers, the community for people who develop LLMs are so small. Like I've seen like I think two Filipinos or one other Filipino who develop an app like mine, and
And there's very
uh
few else.
yeah, it's extremely few, and it's very ironic that like this is such a cool technology that becomes more and more advanced, more accessible, but not a lot of people are getting into it. Like the best of their knowledge in LLMs is like ChatGPT creating answers for exams. It's so much more than that. And I think this is a great opportunity to get so much more people getting to developing apps, like translating experiences, building products for people using the API. It's so easy to develop them, and it's so surprising that not a lot of people are into it. So yeah.
I think it's just early days, and hopefully having conversations like this help more people get interested. And yun nga parang back to you, no? Parang maybe one of the low hanging fruits for you, if you ask me, is to teach. You know, or you can use that as a stepping stone, because you know, if you're one of the first to learn this really cool stuff, and most people don't know this really cool stuff, I think there's some money to be made, you know, teaching people that, as long as you can show the value, and certainly it's of big value. I'm looking into that too, you know, just getting people started on prompt engineering, just getting people started on, I'm not even talking about fancy stuff like Auto GPT, LangChain, all these really cool, because I have a strong feeling most of these technologies will get outdated very quickly. And like for example, and maybe I'd love to talk to you about it in another chat. This whole idea of a vector database, you know, I don't know if you've encountered that. The idea is, because large language models have a natural limit, no, in terms of tokens, although they're getting bigger and bigger as we go along. So to help with that, you supplement it with some sort of a data store, no, which complements a prompt with some it's like giving context, parang the way you're doing your app, no, like you want to ask about this subject, it helps if you provided extra information, and then it gives you a better answer. So parang it's like an auto fine tuning already. That's what's happening. So you get a corpus of information, like I don't know, like a medical textbook or a legal textbook, which it might have already read, by the way, no? But maybe it's your medical textbook or it's your medical records. You store that in a database, and then there's a mechanism like LangChain, for example, that pulls records from that database to augment your prompt, so that when you ask a question like in medicine, you know, can you give me a diagnosis of this chart? It knows to pull additional info from past, what do you call this, examples that presumably you've saved, to augment that prompt. And here are examples of other charts, blah blah blah, so that the reply to you will be more intelligent. No, and that chart probably has malignant cancer or whatever. That's the concept. So I look at that kind of that architecture, and I say, okay, I think I know how that could work. It could certainly work better, but I feel that it's a kind of a clunky way of executing it. Unlike like a proper database, you know, to when you want to retrieve a string, you get everything that matches that string. So that feels more robust, more solid, because you know exactly what you're looking for. But here, kasi parang the database is an augmentation. I might be misunderstanding it pala. No? Maybe in another episode we should break it down to what you're prompting. So the goal is to provide a good answer, a better than average answer, avoid hallucinations, because you're augmenting it. When I think the better solution is to deal with the token limit of the LLM to begin with, you know, rather than having a separate storage. You just dump everything there. Now, I
Yeah.
guess the other question is, and I think you've already stumbled on parts of the solution, is to improve the interface. So rather than just have one general chat window, you should be able to fill up some sort of a Google form like structure. And then in the back, it knows how to stitch it into an interesting prompt, and then boom, no, it comes up with an answer. Parang I feel that that's where it should go, rather than this weird, parang forced structure. But yun na nga, this is what I was saying earlier, na maybe that's a show and tell that needs to happen, because the concepts are so new, they're so alien. There's no substitute to just getting your hands dirty and playing with stuff, you know, and trying to understand how it can work. So anyway, that's what I was thinking
Yeah.
about it. Anyways, again, last words from you. Anything that you want
Yeah.
to impart to
Um,
people?
Before I go with the last word, I think I want to show one last app. This is my
Mm,
favorite. It's very similar to what you did, like what you said, like the having a Google form before is that like, you answer a Google form prior to the first prompt that you put in. That's more specific.
nice.
So this one is like resilience. This is my favorite app. So it's kind of like similar to what you said, where to make it more intelligent, you provided some sort of like some sort of context. So in this case, it's a guidance counselor kind of app. It's not like a mental health professional replacement, but it's kind of like a guidance counselor. By the way, for as a disclaimer, this is not public anymore because of like safety reasons. But anyways, what happens here is like before you have a chat with the chat bot to provide you like mental mental health help, you have a set of questions there. Example, like what brought you here, what are the problems are you facing, and also what do you expect from the conversation. And that becomes like it sets the foundation on where the conversation will go. So example, you provide context. I'm a student, I'm having a hard time trying to sleep. That's like what's in here. It knows where to start and it knows where to bring you. So as a result, it can provide a much more accurate analysis. Like you're having a hard time. I mean, yeah, you're having a hard time balancing personal time and study time. So
So,
that's
so wait, how is this dangerous? But you're just worried that it might start dispensing crazy advice. Is that what you were worried
Yeah,
about?
this wasn't verified. I'm gonna share screen again. This wasn't verified by any professional, That's why I don't wanna. I put it out just for a small amount of time that like people can use, can see like how can LLMs help? How can LLMs help with providing services? But it's not verified. It's not. It
Then
works for
then just
me.
put a disclaimer para
Yeah.
because the
Oh,
other
okay.
thing that's I don't know, anyway, do whatever you want, but I would just
Yeah.
put a disclaimer and then analyze how people are using it. So
Yeah.
people are putting queries in. You store that and then you analyze that, hey, look, there seems to be a trend on how this is being used. Like, for example, see, ano, have you heard of Chat PDF? That's a really cool
Yeah, I've
app.
heard.
Yeah, you just upload a PDF. So it's similar to this where I uploaded a poem and the poem uh it's about wait, sige, ako naman na show and tell, no? But I have actually done this
Okay.
several times. Wait, let me share. Um I don't know nga if it saved my my session because I'm using a different computer. Um Hindi. Sige, what I'm gonna do, there we go, chat PDF. And what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna repeat that process. No? So there's this poem called Desiderata. Desiderata. That's a poem. Yeah, original text. It's about suffering, suffering and peace. And I'm just gonna create a. Do I have MS Word here? WordPad. Sige. See. Paste that there. I know I can just take this and print it. I think I can print it as a PDF. There we go. Original text. Print. Save that. Yeah, it's a download. So desiderata .pdf. Okay, then I'm gonna upload that here. You know, where's that? Downloads. Yan. Are you seeing this?
Yeah, I can.
So it's now analyzing the poem. I could not read PDF. Well, anyway, I actually had a poem uploaded, and based on the contents of the poem, it was actually giving me advice. Advice on life, advice on teka lang, baka this word pad would work. Save it here, no? Desiderata dot text. Yeah, text only, yes. And then I'm gonna open it using the browser. Ayan na. And then I'm gonna print this as a PDF. Yan. Mga life hacks,
Yeah.
Replace that. Okay, good. Then I'm gonna upload it again. Sana mabasa na niya. Kasi simple text lang naman eh. Processing. Ayaw din. Okay, so something's preventing us from chatting with it. But basically, it's a way of chatting with your PDF, no? And yun na nga, parang, baka naman, it's because I have these blockers on. Let me try that again. PDF. Wala ayaw din. Yun. But yun na nga eh, parang, so if you have apps like this, uh, then there's money to be made creating these PDFs that the app can can use, no? Yun yung interesting na, no, na pwede nating gawin. So, I don't know. I just feel that we haven't completely scratched the surface of these tools, and it's really good that you're one of the pioneers, at least as far as I can tell, no, who have broken into this. I mean, you should really either teach it or create a company that does it, and yeah, you shouldn't have to worry about getting work anymore, you know. That should be it, no, basically. Okay, sige. Last words before we go. I think
Yeah,
we've gone past the hour, which is pretty good. It means we had a lot to
yeah.
talk about.
Okay, I just want to say thank you so much, sir, for this opportunity. It means a lot to me, especially that I'm just starting out and I get to fulfill my childhood dreams of being part in tech. It's such an honor. I think it's also a big responsibility that to be one of the first people like developing this kind of apps. But like at the same time, I'm very excited for the future, and I'm actually gonna announce eventually in LinkedIn that I'll be open for work. So that's one of the things. There's so many things coming up with Escolabs, with also future apps that I'll be developing, and I'm gonna keep you. I'm also gonna keep you, sir, posted about it. I'm gonna tell you in advance so we can talk about it, and I'm just gonna end this by saying like the most important thing about this technology is that you should have very good intentions when developing them. LLMs, AI in general, is so powerful, and it's becoming more and more accessible with new developments coming up, and you can do both the good things and bad things with it as much as possible. You're not only that your intentions should be good, but it should also be very pure.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I couldn't be more grateful for this opportunity, and I can't wait for probably future chats with you, sir.
But yeah, we should certainly, do a follow up, especially if
Yeah,
you've already started monetizing some of these apps. I mean, I think that's the next step talaga. How do you
yeah,
monetize? Kasi companies are becoming, billion-dollar companies on investments alone, no? So I think that's the opportunity for us now. How do we figure that out? And um yeah, just like the internet was a gold rush when it first came out, and most people were actually making fun of it, ridiculing it. So I think you're on the right track. So yeah, keep it up,
yeah.
and yeah,
Thank you so
we'll
much.
we'll, we'll be monitoring your progress with interest,
Good.
no? And yeah, and maybe you know we should talk about your stuff also in other fora. Like I don't know if you're aware, I created a meetup group called Practical AI meetups. And we've done face-to-face meetups, but we probably should also do the online ones so everyone can participate, no? So yeah,
I
and
look
show
into
them
this. Yeah.
show them your stuff, no? Yun yung
Yeah.
maganda. All
I'm
right.
gonna I'm gonna dive more into the back end that I can also show the code. So that's yun yung isang kulang eh. So yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, just showing the effects already can get people interested, especially if you start showing the innards of it. Okay, so thank you, Ace, and hope to catch you in
So much.
another
Yeah.
conversation.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay.